So the very first thing you should do on all assignments, all. Now notice I said all, not some, but all. I have the 3 quotes here, single quotes. So what I'm doing is you're going to put your name here first. So I'll put your name. I've had students turn in things that I've posted that I put my name and they posted with my name. So then what you're going to do is the activity. So it says Chapter 2, AutoGrader Program 2, and then a little bit of a description of what it is. This is the whole thing from the book. So the very first thing you should do in every program is list all the variables that you need. So we'll call, I'm not going to call it males. I'm going to call it num males. And then your comment would say number of male otters. I think we're doing otters. And then, of course, num females, which would be obviously the same thing, number of female. And then you want to have another one called total. And I'll call it total otters or total pups. And that's the number of males and females together. I'm not going to physically comment it for lack of space. And then what we need is another variable called av or percent males and percent females. So why is this important? Is because when you're modifying your code later, it makes it so much easier to see what all of these things stand for. Also, if you have working on somebody else's code, you want to be able to see what they're actually doing in here. So let's go. It tells us we want to enter the number of females and enter the number of males. So I'm going to copy this here and just make one change. So the first thing we need to do is, because we want an integer, we need to go num males equals int and then input, and then I should be able to paste that there. So what you want to do here is you want to put a space here so you have a little bit of extra. It makes it easier to read. And then we're going to do the same thing, num females equals int, and we have an issue. Hopefully, I might be missing something. Let's see, int input. Oh, okay, because we're missing this. Sometimes it's easier to work inside out, so let's do this. Let's just do input, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Of course, if I spell right, that would be good, but we know that I am not a good speller. So let's change this to input. So now this looks good. So now we're going to do our integer and do our brackets there. So our parentheses there. So that's usually an easy way to do something, work from the inside out. So now what we want is total otters. And remember to use parentheses in all calculations. Now, does Python care? Absolutely not. But it's good practice to do this. So you definitely want to do it. And it's nothing more than the num males plus num females. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to run the program, and I'm going to do print num males and then I'll do print num females, and then I'm going to print total. Why am I doing this? because if I'm making a mistake in something, it's going to show up right now in here. So, oops. You'll see me do semicolons a lot because I'm usually coding in C++ where you need to have a semicolon at the end. So whatever we print in, we're going to print in 10, 15. So this should be 25. So this is a good way to determine if there's any kind of issues that you're having right from the beginning. So I'm going to click on Start. And it says enter number 10 males. So we'll do 10. Enter number of females. And I need a space after the colon, females. And so I have 10, 15, and 25. Now here's a little trick that I learned. Before you close out the program, take care of any cosmetic problems that you have right here. So let's put the space here, and then we can close out the program. If you don't, it's very easy to go, oh, I forgot to do that. So now we're good. So the next thing we need to do is calculate our percent males. So our percent males.
Professor, can you hear me?
Yes.
What if we...
So what we need to do now is we need to calculate the percentage of males. So the way you calculate the percentage of males, now remember, you're never going to be able to have anything greater than 100% if you're doing a percent of something. So what we want to do here is, so that will help you with, well, do I do number of males divided by total or total divided by num males? So we're going to do num males divided by total otters. And then we'll do percent females equals num males divided by total otters. So what we're going to do is we're just going to print it first, and then we'll do the formatting. So let's get it correct first. So let's see what it wants us to display. Does it say the program? Doesn't give us any specific data. So let's do 35 and 65, and let's see what we get in here. So 35 and 65 should be 100. So let's go and run that there. So let's go and do.
You have to change something there. There was a percent females equals...
We need to fix this num males and take it females. So now we're good. So now what we're going to do here, and this is, I must have spelled something wrong. Females, let me see, is in here. All right, so we fix this here. And then what we're going to do here. Now, the reason why, if this is a lowercase f, and notice you have the green line in here, and the reason being is we're not getting it in here. Like here, you can use something we haven't used before because we're assigning it a value. But here, we're trying to use a value of something that doesn't exist. That's why you're getting that error here. So let's go and create that there. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to print them both. And let's see if our calculations are correct. So we're not going to really print anything here. So we'll do num males. And then we'll do print num females. And so if we do 65 and 35, we should get 65 and 30. Now we're not printing any kind of formatting, so we'll go back and do that next. So let's do 35 and let's do 65. So we know what we should be getting. So here's a good test to see if our calculations are proper. So we have 35, 65, 100, and then 35 and 65. So that works really, really good. So now let's test it with something that's a little bit different. let's do 30 and 60. So now we're not going to get that nice even division by 100. So let's go and see what that gives us. So let's do 30 and 60. Okay, so now we have 30, 60, and then we have 30 and 60. So what we need to do is we need to determine, are we getting a proper percent or we're not in here. So the way you determine that is let's make something very odd in there. So let's see, percent, this is really going to catch it. And notice how I said do it with different things, so now you can check it. So now we actually have an issue because we're actually printing the number of males and females. So let's go and fix that, which, again, supports why I keep saying do one thing and check it. So let's go now and run it again. This should give us a little bit better results. So let's do 30 and 60 and see what we get. So now we're getting 30, 60, and 90, and now it's got 0.333, and that makes sense because we're not displaying it in any kind of format in there. So I think that looks pretty good. So now what we want to do is create the actual format. So it says percent of males and 35%. So let's do this. And we need to do it in single. So let's go and do this here and do it one bit at a time. So we want to do our F first and then our single quote. Because we want to do the percent of males, we need to put in these brackets. And we need to type in percent of males, and let me see if it wants anything else. So it wants a colon and a space. And now what we want to do is we want to format it in percent. So let's do it just plain percent first. And we'll do the same thing here. So let's run this. Oops. Let's run this again now, and let's see what it looks like. So you're doing your things one at a time. So we're going to do, let's start off with 35 and 65. So we have in the percent. So now we have an issue. So we can see right off the bat that we're going in here. So what we can do here is we can print in 0.0. So let's do 1 and see if that works. Let's do 35 and 65. And now we have 35%. Now notice I'm not putting in a D or an F. The reason being is because we have the percent. So again, we're going to do 0.0. And this time, let's try 30 and 60. So we're still printing 30, 60, 90. So we have 33%, and then we have 67%. So that looks pretty good. So that is it for this one over here. So hopefully this is helpful, and this will be available for you tomorrow.